I'm Andy Finch, Olympic snowboarder, and if you want to know my story, it really starts in the Central Valley, which is in the middle of nowhere, but in the middle of everywhere. Yes, Fresno, California, 2 hours to the coast, an hour and a half into the mountains, and really the mountains is where my heart is. You know, it took me a couple of years of bugging my dad to get me on a snowboard. It wasn't until I got straight A's that he finally surprised me with, I was in such shock that I walked right by my bedroom, didn't even see the snowboard. And what's funny is when we started snowboarding, one thing you gotta understand is my dad had a history surfing in the 70s in Hawaii, and he just, you know, windsurfing. He had a passion for board sports. And when we started snowboarding, he was in there waking me up. Andy, it's time to go, and we're leaving 3 hours early. You know, leaving while it's still dark, lunch packed, all the gear packed up, and we were first ones on the mountain, first one on the chair. I was just a little grom, so at that point I was basically like one of those bouncing balls. Throw me anywhere, I go over, I bounced. I was kind of known for taking pretty hard crashes. I didn't care. I tend to overshoot jumps just because I wanted to be in the air for longer. But everything started out just on natural stuff, which China Peak has a lot of fun, natural terrain. And it was on the contest scene where I really started riding a lot of half pipe. You know, it got into the Olympics. That became a goal. And I was kind of known as that kid that was always just crashing once again, blowing up, having huge explosions. And, you know, I remember my manager telling me, you know, people are kind of saying you do great things, but you always fall. Like, okay. And that's just what I needed to hear, because that next year I became one of the most consistent riders out there. It fired me up. But you know, that falling part was a huge part of my progression. I wasn't afraid to fall. I wasn't afraid to get injured. But just always kept pushing. Just kept, you know, one more 180, hold a grab longer, a new variation on a flip. And they're still doing that today. It didn't matter what anyone told me, how hard the task was. I didn't care. I was going for it. I gave it everything I had. I made a lot of sacrifices, so did my family, but it was where my heart was. And I have lifelong friendships that wouldn't be there if it weren't for snowboarding.
But I'm gonna be here